I'm just going to start the recording there, and then I'll be a minute or so while I'm looking for something to talk about.
Sure.
All right. Just gotta skip forwards here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so first off, probably a good idea to just start up where your hog and your McCree are. This would get us some just early, especially the big thing you're looking for here is just early bubble energy. Is just to we can peek out where McCree's at. We can bubble McCree and ourselves. Just sit here, let them shoot at us, and then boom, we're already up some energy, and then therefore we are able to now kill things better. And really, energy is the first thing we're always looking to attain.
Mm-hmm.
Every single fight and just every game is trying to get energy first. So that'd just be probably a better place to begin at.
Gotcha. That's great.
Okay, so again, bubbles being the first thing that we're looking to do, whereas here we just kind of sit here and just shoot for a large while when they're just kind of looking at us and we're not using our bubbles. So
Mm-hmm.
first off, something we could do here is just intentionally run at the Reinhardt. So keep in mind that when we're looking to attain energy, we want to basically be a little bit more aggressive, right? So when we're using our personal bubble, especially, we're getting slightly more aggressive because this is going to do a couple different things for us. First off, this is going to allow us to capitalize on our bubble usage, and we kind of use it as tanking to create some more space for ourselves. But then also at the same time, it's going to basically attract their attention and make it easier for them to hit our bubbles, right? So for example, here, right, when we're using our personal bubble, we could just run at the Reinhardt and like step right here for him. This would
Mm-hmm.
attract the attention of the Junkrat. This would allow Reinhardt to swing on you, and then therefore you might get more energy than if we're just sitting back here. And again, energy being the number one thing that we're at the moment looking to get, because we're just sitting at 0 currently.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Okay. So there, we bubbled like a little bit early when we weren't even around the corner. So we get booped up in the air and we bubble like while we're midair when there's like nobody really shooting at us. And
Mm-hmm.
then there's also an Ashe who's in or not an Ashe, a Symmetra who's in a trap currently, who's like 1 HP. So this would be a perfect bubble opportunity for her if we're
Mm-hmm.
paying attention to our surroundings, which would come in at awareness, right, and paying attention to her. Because then we could get that bubble on her, and then boom, we've just got a bunch of energy, and then on top of that, we've saved her life. Okay, good kill. Okay, so when we are using our bubbles, so far it's looking like bubbles are going to be like one of the biggest things to work on.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're looking to use our bubbles here, we want to make sure that when we are using it, that they're actually going to get value, right? So when we're using our bubbles, we want to be getting both tanking and energy out of them. In this instance, Hog is not currently being looked at by people or shot at by people. Like if we look at him, he's completely around the corner. Is not.
Mm-hmm.
He's no one is even looking at him. No one's in his line of sight. He is incapable of getting shot at, and he is not getting shot at. Therefore, this bubble's not gonna do zilch, nada. It's not gonna do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that we want to again pay attention to his surroundings so that our bubble's actually doing things. Because there we go with the
Right.
entire bubble, and he doesn't get any energy. It doesn't do anything for him. So we basically, when we're looking for bubbles, we want to be landing bubbles when people are getting looked at and shot at. Specifically shot at, right? It's when they're taking damage is where bubbles are going to both do their job and also get you energy.
Like this McCree that's standing in front of me that I now don't have a bubble for.
Yeah. When
Gotcha.
he's maybe in their line of sight and it might be getting shot at, right? Like he doesn't end up getting shot at. He gets away with full HP, but that's a situation where he's more likely to be, right? Or here, like on the Zarya, right? Like when she's shooting at us, we could, for example, like try to be running into her projectile shots. So like here we have our own personal. Oh, I guess it was on 1 second. My bad. I missed the fact the sheet we didn't have it. Okay, again, we're bubbling him like as he's backing up around the corner. And when we bubble ourselves, we're kind of backing up around the corner. So we want to make sure when we're bubbling ourselves that we can we can push forwards a little bit and then back up when it's gone. Just wanna draw their attention to ourselves. Alright, so now we're up a little bit higher on our energy. That's really good. Now our current positioning is pretty garbage. We want to make sure that we're probably going to be on the high ground, which means that we probably shouldn't have been like pushed this far forwards, and then that means that we don't want to be down here because this isn't the best positioning to be holding, as it doesn't it's all on low ground. They have the high ground advantage when they're right here. It's very out in the open with no cover anywhere. Right now this is just currently really bad positioning, whereas what we probably want to be doing is holding this high ground, and then how you're going to want to approach this on most of the time as a team on this map is you're going to want to contest the cart after it's gotten underneath this area and gotten to
Mm.
underneath this, because then is a lot better positioning. You have more angles and corners to work with. You can kind of surround them, come from this high ground, this high ground, these high grounds, this high ground, to this corner, right? You have a lot more to work with, and you just drop
Mm.
on top of them. So just basically don't hold here
Okay.
on this map. Not going to be working out too well for you. Why don't we just talk about the importance of bubbles real quick, just because it's looking like bubbles are one of the bigger things already at the moment.
Mhm.
Bubbles, real important in your kit, right? First off, bubbles get you energy. Energy, or I guess let's say first off, bubbles get you tanking. When you tank, that this is one of the only on Zarya, it's one of the only ways that you are providing tanking, and then therefore you're protecting your team and you're creating space and you're doing and you're getting tanking value, right? Secondly, when you use your bubbles, you're going to be getting energy out of them. When you get energy, you are able to get kills, right? There's a very, very massive difference between having 0 energy and having 100 energy. It's such a big difference between the two. You're going to be able to do more damage, get more kills. When you're doing more damage, you're going to be getting more ultimates. When you're getting more ultimates, that's more kills as well. The more kills and ults and damage you're outputting, that means the more fights you're going to be winning, and then therefore the more games you're going to be winning, right? So we just want to make sure we have higher energy, because then that's going to allow us to do more. Now, the step after that would be actually utilizing the energy, but the first step is actually getting it in the first place, right? So right now we're missing that first step of actually getting it for the most part, because we went an entire minute without peaking above 60, which is just
Mhm.
now we're actually up at 60, which is good. Bubbles are looking a lot more solid because now Hog's actually being shot at, and now we're at 100 energy. You're gonna notice that we're doing a whole lot more damage, except for no, we don't, because we're in bad positioning, right? Remember, out in the open.
Mhm.
Remembering good positioning is the usage of cover, whereas bad positioning is the absence of cover. Okay, good bubble. Very nice. Okay, want to make sure, so just pointing these things out real quick, we'll go more in depth if I notice them repeating, or at least the first one I'm about to mention. Here we end up chucking in some right clicks when we're within our left click distance.
Hmm.
How it works is usually you don't want to be doing that. Whenever you're within your left click distance, we should be left clicking, and then anytime we're outside of it, we should be right clicking. Here we just kind of right click when we're within it, and it's just not going to be as efficient as left clicking. And then on top of that, we're about to bubble ourselves, but notice how we bubble ourselves. We do it like while we're super far back and no one is particularly shooting at us. So again, how what we should be doing instead is we should probably be doing something like this, where we push up in front of our Reinhardt and then bubble. So this
Hmm.
does multiple things. First off, it's going to do tanking for the Reinhardt. It's going to take damage. Basically, it's going to provide it's going to keep him alive longer because you're taking damage away from the Reinhardt, right? It's allowing him to regen his shield, it's allowing him to get healed up, right? It's just keeping him alive longer, so you're providing tanking. And this also is going to get you more energy because now you have more people shooting at you. It's going to draw when you're on the front line, it's going to be drawing more people's attention. So, for example, like Reinhardt, Junkrat, and Zenyatta might be shooting at you, whereas if you're sitting in the back, you might just have Zenyatta shooting at you, right? So just being more aggressive when you're using your bubble and standing in front of your Reinhardt's going to mean that you're going to get more out of it. Now, of course, you don't want to get so insanely aggressive that you're going to die after your bubble's gone. Like, you wouldn't want to like run all the way inside of them, but you just want to go forwards a little bit, right? Just a little bit
Mm.
more aggressive when we have it, so that we can, get more value out of it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, bubbles besides that are starting to look a little bit more up, which just goes to show that it's inconsistent rather than just being
Mhm.
being super bad versus like super good. It's just in the middle where sometimes you're good with it, sometimes you're bad with it.
Mhm.
Yeah, really good because now people are actually shooting at our bubbles. Oh, audio awareness, right? Making sure we're listening and paying attention. Here we don't. We kind of.
I heard him. I thought he was up top. That's why I was shooting up top. I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was down below.
hmm Which is, that means that we have to get into like directional audio and make sure
Yeah.
we're I guess getting better with understanding which direction it is.
Mhm.
As well as maybe just like using our eyes and looking around a bit more to like what direction he's coming from. Because if we hear that he's close and he's not up top, then he must be like below us, right?
Mhm.
All right. So we're using our grav here. Currently, we want to be maintaining our energy. We don't want to be just sitting around doing nothing. In Overwatch, there's really no time at all ever where you're sitting around doing nothing, and at it's going to get more complicated. There's things that you can do in between fights that are just kind of a little bit out of our skill range at the moment. But one thing that is probably going to be pretty within our skill range is just maintaining energy. So what that means is we're at 80 energy now. We don't want to be coming into the next fight at 40 or at 50 or something like that. We don't want to be just decaying. Instead, we want to be coming into the next fight with like 80 energy as well, right? We want to be keeping high energy for the beginning of the fight, not so that we don't have to worry about it mid-fight, right?
Mhm.
So what that would look like is, they're all coming down main. What we could do is just walk up in front of a Reinhardt, shoot some right clicks in, draw their attention, get them to shoot at you, stand still so that it's easy for them to shoot at you, and then
Hmm.
boom, we've just gotten some energy out of that, right? Like Reinhardt fire striking in, right? Just easy 20% on your
Mhm.
energy, right? If we just catch that, right? But instead we're just sitting around AFKing, and then we could be soaking up some of that damage, but we're sitting around tossing in some right clicks, and then now we're coming into the fight, and the fight's beginning, and we're down at like, down at 60 rather than
Mhm.
80, right? So we just kind of decay a bunch when we could be using our bubbles. Okay. Um. Now that grab's all right, but it's not. I like the timing with it. I think that I guess let me think through this real quick. So when we chuck it in, we just kind of chuck it straight at Reinhardt, and then Reinhardt is the only one who gets grabbed. So ultimately, this grabs, though the timing is pretty decent, it's not the best grab. We also might not even need to use it in the situation. So there's a lot to unpack. Let's just that's what all I'm saying here. So let's go through it a little bit at a time. So first off, we just used wall and our window here both at the same time, and they're all
Mhm.
backing up. Grav might not even currently be necessary because we might just win this fight and push them all back before we need Grav, right? So we just might not need it flat out because we've just used a bunch of ults. We're already up one person. Junkrat's, still even walking back right now, so they're technically down two people, and we have ultimates online as well. So Grav might not be necessary in the first place, at least to where we're like, we might just want to wait till they back up and then come back in and then use our Grav.
Mhm.
Secondly, we only get one person with it, so we want to make sure to put effort into getting more than one person because, of course, when you get two people in it, it's twice as good as when you have one person in it. You get
Mhm.
six people in it, it's six times as good as when you get one person. It's just the value that you're getting out of having more people in it is going to be so much better. On top of that, if you're looking at who to be shooting at, I don't know if we talked about. Did we talk about target priority last time?
Yes.
Yeah,
Don't target the tank.
exactly. In this situation, Reinhardt's just going to be the easiest person on their team to pocket and keep alive, right? He has the bubble, he has his shield, he has the most HP, he has a orb, is going to be pocketed by his mercy. So he's just going to be the easiest person to keep up. Now, he still might die because you have a window in front of it, but you'd be much better off getting, like, for example, both the supports in it, right? Because that might get you more value, as well as they might be easier to kill. So it's just the grab that we go for. Might not need to use it, and we also just should be going for more and better targets than just the Reinhardt. Through the window, go for just flat out right clicks, even though you're within range of left click, because through the your left click is not boosted through the window, but your right click
Oh,
is.
really?
Yep.
I had no idea. That is okay. That's great to know.
Yep, it's only like projectiles and hit scans. It's not beams don't work through it, so Symmetra's beam wouldn't work through it either. Reinhardt's hammer wouldn't work through it, though his fire strike would.
Hmm,
Um, everyone else's primary fires would work through it here. So
okay.
just right click through it, not beaming.
Really good to know.
Alright, so now we're using bubble, though that was our first bubble this fight, pretty much after the whole fight's done. So we want to make sure we're using our bubbles, not just well. Like, when it comes to our bubbles, we want to be going for quantity and quality, not just one or the other. When we just go for quality, then that means that we end up sacrificing quantity, and then we just end up decaying a ton, and then we end up being super low energy still, even though we got good bubbles out. And when we
Mhm.
just go for quantity, then even if we're getting a bunch of bubbles out, they might not even be super valuable, and therefore we might not even be getting a bunch of energy out of them. So we want to make sure we're shooting for both of them. And in this, previously, like in the first fight or two, we were lacking in our quality, where we just weren't getting good bubbles in, and then now we're lacking in the quantity, where we weren't getting many bubbles in. This is the first bubble that we used in an entire fight, right? Which is, we want to be using it more often, so we're not decaying so fast. Okay, here, let's rewatch this. So we go and shoot at the Reinhardt. Um, Here we still stayed. We're still kind of sitting here and AFKing. When we could be pushing in aggressively when we're up a bunch of people. So last time, did we talk about kill feed watching and how to know whether or not you're winning or losing a fight?
We did,
We
yes.
did.
Down, yeah, down. Once you're down three, it's over, and you need to back out. Down one, you're in trouble. Down two, it's time to don't be aggressive, and down three, back out and regroup. Is that
Yeah,
right?
it's a little bit slightly more complex, right? It's 1 to 2 and then 2 to 3. So 1 to 2 is disadvantage, 2 to 3 is lost fight, and the reason why 2 is the middleman, why 2 like kind of goes in between them, is because there's a lot of other things that go into whether or not you're winning or losing as well. Which team has more ultimates? Which team is
Mhm.
using more ultimates? Which team has better positioning? Which team has
Yeah.
closer spawns? Which team and then has more health, right? So those all impacted as well. So in this situation, we are up 6 people versus 4 people, right? So it's a 6v4. I would say this is probably looking pretty solidly like a one fight, particularly because of the fact that you guys have better positioning currently. Is the big one, is that you guys all have the high ground. So this is looking pretty one. Maybe there's a slight chance you could lose it. But in this situation, we should be getting aggressive, right? Because if anything, this is just an advantage or a one fight, and we should be going in. We should be going and doing things. But instead, notice how we're the furthest behind when our Reinhardt's in there getting his butt kicked, right? He's in there being aggressive, which is probably what we should be looking to do here. But we're sitting super super far back, so we at the moment should be looking to go forwards and go aggressive and do things, and then that way we can help out Reinhardt, and then not let him die, right? Which there we
Mhm.
probably could have stopped him from dying had we been in there faster. Because of bubble decay as well, we're down at like 40. Let's see how do we use our bubble there. Okay, so here we use our bubble when no one's really looking at us. Again, pay attention to where are people looking, right?
Mhm.
Zenyatta's not looking at you. Zarya's, looking in your direction, but you just walked through the doorway, so how is she going to be looking at you? Instead, what we do is we wait a couple seconds, because now in a couple seconds, people are going to be looking at us. Now they're like, oh, no, I guess they're not even looking at us there, right? But we just used bubble when people weren't even looking at us. We weren't even around the corner yet, so we want to make sure we're doing it when people are looking at us. Junkrat mines just coming in, go and sit on top of them, use your bubble, right? Projectiles are super easy to get energy off of, so Reinhardt fire strikes in, Junkrat's spamming some shots in, right? Zarya's lobbing some right clicks in. Those are all super easy because it's a slow traveling projectile that we can just step in front of and get some energy off of, right?
Yeah.
Like, so even those, right? Just to step in front, get, bubble yourself. That way we're not coming in with 3 energy, right? Okay, very nice. Exactly what you should be doing. Okay. Really far back here, so just in general, positioning wise, we're playing a little bit far back and scared. Keep in mind that our positioning is changing from an Ashe to a Zarya, right? We have to remember that we're on a different role and that we're on a different character, and therefore we're going to be positioning slightly differently. And in this instance, we're playing as if we're an Ashe, where we're playing like kind of a medium distance away from people, or a medium far distance away from people, and in behind our whole team, whereas we are Zarya now. So positioning wise, we should be up in front of our team. The only person we should be behind is our Reinhardt. So preferably our positioning would look something like this, where we're positioned up near this corner to use as cover. Or, you could also, I'd say Reinhardt should probably be near cover, right? Because we talked about cover usage and how good positioning is the usage of cover, bad positioning is the absence of cover. Reinhardt's not using that, but for the most part, we should be standing like right behind our Reinhardt, right? This way he can tank and shield for us, but we can also run in front of him if we are needed to. And it also means that we're going to be able to, damage effectively from this range, because Zarya is a pretty close range damage dealer. So we just want to make sure we're not standing this far back, which is like really, really far away. Okay, so now we push back forwards, which is good. Okay, notice how we're like we're bubbling, but we're standing behind our Reinhardt while we're doing it again. Not in front. Okay, that bubble's decent. Alright. Alright, Zarya comes in with the grab. Here, we probably could finish off Junkrat if we went... Okay, if we got the right click in, but then we also are shooting at the Reinhardt, and Reinhardt's also low, but then we swap our targets. Like, we have 2 people who are pretty much 1 HP on our left, but then we swap our targets over to these guys on the right, and then we die. Now, they did end up dying, but we just want to make sure we're focusing the people who are lower and not swapping away from them, because we want to finish off those kills before we end up dying there. Besides that, not much you can do against the grab that's happening to you. Again, at current skill level, that's something we can talk about when you're up at
Right.
like Diamond.
Gotcha.
10 seconds remaining. If we work in unison, our defense will be impenetrable.
Oh, very nice.
Barriers on you. Go. Barriers on you.
Okay, make sure we're using our bubbles just like pretty much as early in the fight as we can. So like for example, their personal bubble, we kind of waited like 10 seconds before using it, and in that time we could have had an entire other bubble which we could have used, which would mean that we are getting more bubbles out per fight. Right, which means the more bubbles we're getting out per fight, the more energy we're getting, and the more tanking we're getting, the more value we're getting out of it. I think we said this exact same thing with Ash's Dynamite, which is like just use it as soon as you're engaging, because then you get more per fight out. Like you get more dynamites per fight, more bubbles per fight, which is gonna do more for you. So we also, again, like we talked about before, we're trying to get when we're like low energy, or pretty much our #1 priority is to get high energy, right?
Barriers on you. Go.
Okay, so now we're high energy. Now we're good. Okay. It seems like we need to just get a little bit used to. So we're at 520. Let's just talk about this real quick of how when we should be using left click, right click, and like kind of what situations to use them in. So we talked briefly on this, but we'll just go into it real quick. One techie thing, in case you're unaware on Zarya, is to move faster. You can right click and jump at the exact same time as you're moving along. This is going to up your movement speed and can also get you to some high ground sometimes, depending on how close it is. I don't know if it can actually make this or not, but no, it probably can't. But in any case, you can use this to move faster, and then that's going to, you know, especially like the big one is just when you're walking back from spawn, for example. Now, you do have on Zarya shield health, which is going to regenerate if you're looking at the bottom left. So you just want to make sure you're not going past that, because if we go over 200 damage while we're going through when we're walking back from spawn, then that's going to mean that it's we're actually going to be losing some health actually. And you
Gotcha.
use so like if we went down there, now that's health that we're not going to be regenerating. And you want to give it a little bit of time to regenerate before you get back to the fight, but that will up your movement speed, and you'd use it like to get 3/4 back and then let it regenerate a little bit.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
Now, with your Zarya, and we're using our left click versus right click, right? Left click is happening within any time you're within left click range. So that means left click range is roughly 15 meters, or it is 15 meters, sorry, which is roughly this distance. When you're gonna notice when we're outside of the distance that we are going to, we're not going to be able to um, hit him, right? And you're not going to see damage, damage indicators, so you're not going to see hit markers. That's what it's called, which is the white thing here. It looks like his arms actually extend further than he does, which is funny. But you're not going to see the hit markers if you're too far away. And then on top of that, you know, you're also not going to hear the sounds and whatnot. So we just, whenever not seeing left clicking, we should be probably right clicking so that we can just actually hit them from that distance. Now, when the only other time we should be right-clicking when we're within this distance is when people are low HP. So when people are low, what we can actually do is right-click melee, and this will burst down their HP. And as we discussed kind of with the headshotting, when we're killing something faster, that's always going to be better because they have less time to get away, less time to heal, less on the tank, right? And then we just secure the kill. So you want to burst down your target, which we can do through a right-click melee. When you have higher energy, this will, like, you can do this when they're at a higher health. Like when we're at like 100 energy, we could probably do it when they're at like half health. But when we don't have any energy, we'd have to do it like more so like right there. When you're out of range of your melee, don't, you know, you can just only right click. And then if you're like past like 10 meters roughly, it's probably not going to be worth it to right click, because first off, it just might be less accurate at this range. Well, also it's not as fast because you have the delay in the projectile. So you might as well just left click when you're at this distance, because it'd be just better and faster to do left click than to do right click. Right, so that's just when you use each of them. Other fun little techie thing is that your right click projectile travels at the exact same projectile speed or whatever as your grab. So if we hit him directly with the grab there, or sorry, with the right click there, your grab is going to go to the exact same spot.
Okay, very nice.
Alright, so just some techie stuff there. And then that is pretty much it here with Zarya.
Arriving at watch point, ready for battle.
Okay, I don't even know where we were. We're somewhere around here.
Yeah, they were right there.
Yeah, okay, so it was like right around here. I was just noticing it where we were like trying to left click Reaper when we were too far away from him. Right, just right outside the range, which meant that we weren't able to hit him. Left clicking from too far away, left clicking from too far away, right, left clicking from too far away, right, we're aiming straight at them, but it's just not doing damage, so we just want to be right clicking within that distance, or pushing forwards to where we are within left click distance is another thing we can do. Pay attention to the D.Va who, oh, okay, yeah, so D.Va's above us currently, I guess. I thought I heard that she was below us, but I guess not. Misheard that.
Ready for battle. Go. Helden sterben nicht. Barrier activated. Огонь по готовности.
Into the iris.
Okay, so wait, so again there, sorry, I was thinking about something, so I
I'm
didn't comment on it.
yeah, I
Yep.
caught. I think I did it at the right. If I'd shot it into the middle of them,
Mhm.
but
Yeah, so
and it said I did it right in front of that Zarya. So
exactly. So when you're looking for your grabs, you're usually trying to go in the middle of as many people as possible, right? You're trying to hit the
Mhm.
feet in between them. You're not trying to hit people directly. And the reason being is that when you hit someone directly, like you saw with Zara and Reinhardt, they just body block it from hitting anyone behind them, and it can stop it. So let's say, for example, we just ignore this grab that we had here, and we just like kind of step on top of cart here real quick, and we just toss it right around here. Well, now that probably gets like 3 people, maybe 4 people, because
Mhm.
we get Baby Diva, Zenyatta, maybe Mercy, maybe Reaper, and then Junkrat probably walks back into it. So we could probably get a pretty big grab if we just went for that, and we want to make sure we're not just going for the tanks, but we're launching it like kind of in between, like right past them, right? So we could like also chuck if we wanted to, we could like just jump and chuck it over the Zarya here because we are on a slope. But we just want to make sure we're getting it past her, not just hitting her directly with it, which just means that we getting more than just one kill out of it. Which
Mhm.
one kill's not terrible, but it's also usually not going to be the best usage of it. Two is usually kind of the minimum that you're looking to get with a grab in outside of certain situations. Like the only other situations I would say that one person's gonna be really good is like if it's to kill a nanoblading Genji, for example, where now you're killing a person while also countering 2 ultimates, or killing a primeling monkey who's you're countering an ultimate while also getting a kill. So it's just examples where going for one person might be a little bit better.
Into the iris.
Okay, now we're right clicking a little bit within the distance, which I think was fine when we were doing it on the Mercy, because on the Mercy, that actually booped her backwards, and that was potentially a way that you could try to get her to stop rezzing. But besides that, we shot a couple other right clicks when we're just within range of it. Let's rewatch this on this bubble on Reinhardt. Okay. You can just keep pushing that, keep pushing, right? You see this is a one fight. It's just 2 supports versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Very big advantage. Yeah, we're kind of hesitating with the pushing. We're just kind of like sitting around where we kind of like aren't just holding W. Instead, we're just kind of just shooting them from a distance and not going in. You could push all the way up until here and it be okay as long as you're staggering them and they're not like all respawning, right? You can go all the way up to spawn, right? There's no problem with that as long as you're cleaning up kills and you have a massive advantage, right? So pushing these guys just past the doorway a little bit is completely fine to do, right? As long as we have a big advantage when we're going for it. So here we just kind of sit around and we probably could get an additional 2 kills if we just pushed in a little bit further, right? But it looks like we all back off right after they get around the corner. Okay, I like we're taking high ground there. That's good. Make sure we're maintaining energy though. That'd probably be a good thing to be doing. Okay, which would maintaining energy is as simple as doing something like this, where we just go above them here, right? We toss a few right clicks in, wait till they all look at us, bubble when they all look at us. They shoot us a couple times, we back up, right? It's just make sure when you're looking for a bubble like that, you're just standing still. You want it to be easy for them to shoot at you. You don't want to be moving around to make it super difficult for them to hit you. You want to stand still. You want to shoot into them so that they look at you, and then you want to bubble as soon as they do look at you and they start shooting at you, right? That's just an easy way to just maintain your energy. Okay, so now we didn't go over strengths and weaknesses, so why don't we go over strengths and weaknesses real quick. Bubbles are really good sometimes, really not good other times. I think sometimes they're struggling with quantity, sometimes they're struggling with quality. So overall, and it's also a really important thing on Zarya, so I'd say overall it's looking like maybe a medium-high priority.
Mhm.
Ultimates, um, I think I like that we're not holding on to them and we're using them at pretty good timing, but we've only gotten like one tank in them both times that we've used it, so we really could be getting a whole lot more value out of our ultimates. So that one again is maybe going at like a medium high priority. General mechanics of going pew pew shooting at stuff is looking really solid, no problems with that. Though the only issue would just be in that category would be knowing when to left click versus right click. And then also just making sure that with our grabs we're keeping good target priority and going for other things besides just one tank. So overall that one though is probably going a little bit lower on the list. Probably say like a low to medium priority out of everything we talked about. Then we have awareness, which awareness, honestly, there's been a couple things, right? There's been like ones where we don't pay attention to you know, people who are in danger in our team, like the Symmetra who is trapped, or we don't pay attention to low HP people on the enemy team, you know, like when Reinhardt and Junkrat were 1 HP and we looked away from them. And there's been times, you know, where where we didn't pay attention to the kill feed and when we could be getting aggressive, right? Or we used grab in a situation where maybe it wasn't needed. So overall awareness is looking like maybe a medium priority. It's not massive, but it's also not the lowest here. And then finally, positioning. Honestly, positioning I think has been one of the ones that we've talked about the least. We've talked a couple times about, you know, at the very beginning we talked about, you know, making sure we're not standing out in the open, right? That we're using cover properly. But besides that, we've been using cover pretty decently. We haven't been standing out in the open, so we just want to make sure we're keeping that up. And then we also want to make sure we're not just like there's been once or twice where we stood way too far back, and we want to make sure we're standing closer. So that one, I'd probably say there is a little bit. What was it? Okay. Yeah, I'd probably say that one goes around a medium, maybe a low to medium, but it's somewhere in that range. And we just want to make sure we're keeping at the right distance, using cover, and not standing out in the open. And you know, those are and then also getting aggressive and pushing forwards when we are looking for bubbles. All right.
Is that all we've got?
Gotcha.
How do we just use that bubble that we had?
Not good.
We bubble here, and the issue is that we just did that entire bubble while behind the shield. So how are they gonna be able to shoot at that, right?
Is that all we've got?
When we hear that tire, don't drop from the high ground. We should probably stay on the high ground. And we heard it come from the right side, and we through the wall we can see him. He's there, but we heard it come from the right side. We probably run above over here and peek above and maybe shoot at him. That's like a really hard angle, but I think you can shoot through that. Question mark. So we might probably can be able to shoot through those cracks there to to kill the Junkrat, but usually it's a good idea to go hunt down the Junkrat while he's ulting because he's AFK and can't move. But then the other option we have is just to bubble him there. Oh, nice bubble on the Reinhardt, but then we die as we afterwards because we had used our bubble already. Yeah, so there maybe we just could have stayed on the high ground. I don't think there's a big reason why we needed to drop.
I am not.
Okay, good bubble. Probably want to just back out, probably. Make sure we just use our bubble and then back out. Oh, winnable. Okay, nice bubble, good grab. That one person doesn't matter because it's we win this fight if we win, or we win this round if we stop the fight here. So that solo grab, there's no problem with that one. All right, and then that's round ends. Okay, so we actually approached that pretty well. Couple bubbles, maybe we could have gone for better in the last fight again, but besides that, we played it pretty well. Use our own bubble there, right? We just took like 200 HP's worth of damage that we could have just bubbled and soaked up all the energy from. So bubble, 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 right? I don't have to say this like a thousand times, right? And then now we're bubbling when turret's locked onto someone else, right? Pay attention to who turret's like locked onto. You can see the beam of it to who is
Mhm.
locked onto, so we know it's not on us currently, and we see it's not shooting at us currently. Probably should be walking with our team here. They're all going super aggressive all over here, and we're like, notice how far back we are. We're basically not participating in this fight while they're in the middle of fighting it. So we want to
Mhm.
make sure we're here participating. Yep, good awareness. Really good idea to go on that guy, on those supports there. Bubble it, unnecessary bubble, too early.
Yeah, I've got to learn to balance the quantity versus quality.
Yep. Aiming for both of them, right? We don't want to just like, you want to go for quantity, but you also don't want to just toss it out there when it's not going to do anything, because then it's just a wasted bubble, right? We could use bubble every single second of the game that we get it, but be using it in spawn, it's not going to do anything for us because it's
Mhm.
we're nowhere near doing anything with it. Don't focus too much on the shield when we could just like push past it and shoot at some people. Right, that's kind of the idea behind taking off angles, which I believe we would have talked about, like when we went over
Mhm.
Ash, right?
Mhm.
It's like the same concept. Don't shoot at shields when you don't need to shoot at shields. There, we're shooting a left clicks when we're out of range. Once we push him back there, no reason to push, or like it's kind of, I think it's slightly assumed that if McCree sees a big, a 100 charge Zarya running at him, that he's gonna like back all the way up, which he does, and then now we have to run up all the way around. So we might have been better off just staying in the actual fight and shooting at them.
Mhm.
Pay attention to how the fight's going. There we just lost 3 people, yet we're pushing back into the fight, whereas what we could have done is we see, oh snap, we're down people, and just back up this way. On
Mhm.
Zarya, it's extra important that we escape fights, not die, because we want to maintain our energy as much as possible. So if we escape with 70 energy, that means that in the next fight we're coming back in with like already coming in with like like 50-ish, right?
Mhm.
Which is going to be much better than coming in with 0. So on Zarya, it's extra important that we just stay alive, which here we come back in and then die as a result, right? Which we probably could have survived there if we were just paying attention to kill feed, which comes in at awareness, right? Paying attention to kill feed. When we're down 3, that's a lost fight, right? Don't push back into that.
Gotcha.
Perseverance is the key.
The payload has stopped.
Enemy in my
Get our
sights.
plan back on track.
Barriers on you. Go. Is that all you've got?
Bubble, step on top of molten core. There you go, energy, right? Just that's the type of thing you can do sometimes if you're looking like we said before. Pretty much at the moment, your number one priority is to get energy, and currently in your position, you are not super in danger, and then that means that you probably aren't going to need your personal bubble for self protection anytime soon. So just running over, stepping on the molten core is just an easy 40 energy to get you up there. And then that means that, we actually have damage now coming into the fight. So that's just an easy one that we could go for. You can do the same thing into a dragon. Sorry, some loud noise in the background there.
No worries.
We could do the same thing into a Hanzo dragon, into a, if there's a pulse bomb or a diva bomb, we just step in and bubble if we're trying to get easy energy off of it, right?
Barriers on you. Go.
Right click to burst her down there when, she was pretty low. Probably want to be prioritizing. Okay, so a couple things there. So first off, um, paying attention to the fact that we have Grav here. Now, Torbjorn is a little bit out of position, though I would probably say that the higher priority when we have our Graviton Surge and then they've just used a Transcendence is plopping the Grav down and getting the Grav in, because that's going to attain a higher value than getting one single kill. On top of that, we also tunnel vision on the Torbjorn and don't notice the McCree who's high nooning, so we don't hear him when he high noons, and then therefore we just run into it when we could have noticed it happening because we just walk around the corner and then get hit with it, right? So we want to make sure we're paying attention, listening, watching, right? And then we could also could have grabbed and potentially gotten 1, 2, 3 here, 1, 2, 3 there. Probably this one would be a better grab. If we just grabbed over here and then that's just an easy 3K grab, right? We just want to make sure we're using it.
Огонь по готовности.
Step right up.
All right.
Temporary setback.
Group up with me.
I'm even stronger. You're covered.
60 seconds remaining.
Okay, we're looking for a grab currently. Really easy angle to land the grab from. All right, you can just get up here super easily by jumping up these boxes right here, right?
I didn't know I could get up there. I didn't. Okay.
Yep. You can actually. Okay, so just for the quick sidetrack here, you can hop on this little leg right here, stand up here, hop on this little box, and then boom, you're up to this high
Okay.
ground. From here, you can see above there. You can also leap from right here to over here on any character in the game. So you can also get up to this high ground, which allows you. This is how I was talking about. That's how I was saying you should be up with the hog and the McCree at the beginning of the game. I wasn't saying that you have to wrap all the way around the stairway. I was saying that you can just hop across, and then that gets you just up there with them, and that's just gives you some good positioning to start off, right?
That makes sense. Got it.
Barriers on you. Go.
Okay, starting off at 0 energy, trying to get that back, looking to use a grab. How are we going to use it? Nice bubble.
Огонь по готовности.
Grabbing a single tank again, right? Wanting to make sure we're going for more than just a single tank because we're just missing out on an incredible amount of value. And then it's also on a single tank who also has gold. Want to make sure that if we're grabbing an Orisa, we're waiting out until after she's used that ability because then she can just walk straight out of it. And then now look, grab's gotten 0 people in it. So we just want to make sure we're going for more than just Orisa. If no one's grouped up, just wait until they are grouped up. Still use bubbles even while we're nanoed. So here, for example, Symmetra, who just gets flashbanged right next to us and is 1 HP, right? Easy bubble to go for, and then we look away from her, so we want to make sure that we're bubbling when people need it. Keep in mind, when we bubble people who need a bubble because they are in danger of dying, that is where you're going to get the max possible value out of bubble, right? That is where you're getting both tanking and energy at the same time, right? So, for example, someone on your team gets pinned, right, by Reinhardt. Bubble them, save their life, easy energy, right? Some of your team's getting ulted by pretty much any ult in the game. Bubble them, easy energy, saves their life, right? Someone on your team gets hooked, bubble them, easy energy, save their life, right? Symmetra, 1 HP, getting shot at by 2 people, possibly saving their life, more energy, and allowing them to, do more damage to maybe help you secure one of the kills on these guys, right? We also, just turn to the side kind of for no reason here. Kind of unnecessary, right?
This is strength. Dex been revived. Barriers on me. I'm even stronger.
Get her.
I'm on fire. I will lead us to victory.
10 seconds remaining.
Okay, so there we just wanted to make sure we're still using our bubbles even during the fight, right? We're still trying to get value out of them, which is hard, but we kind of gotta get used to that so we can maintain energy still, so that we're not being a nano Zarya with 50 energy, but we're a nano Zarya with 80 energy. Okay, their personal bubble came pretty late. Probably say it was pretty unlikely they were getting out there, so you might as well just let them kill you. Alright, that way we're not staggering ourselves, right? You try to get out if you can. If you can't, you let them kill you. There, if like you're super far away, you have a bunch of people chasing you and you don't have any bubbles or teammates, then you're probably gonna die there, right?
Hmm.
All right, let's leave here. We're gonna go and go over the main points, do a review, and then wrap up the session from there. So going over to Zarya, right? So on Zarya, right, we have number 1 coming in at Bubbles, right? I think that one is you can see that one coming, right?
Yep.
Bubbles being number 1 thing to work on. Bubbles are going to both get us 2 things. First off, tanking. Secondly, it's going to get us energy. Both tanking is going to be how you get value as a tank on Zarya. For like, it's probably like 60% of how you create space on Zarya, maybe even 70%. And then the other would just be like you having chunky health, just having more health bar, which is also pretty important. But the main thing is just how you do tanking on Zarya is with your bubbles. Right, so we want to make sure we're getting good bubbles. We also want to make sure we're getting good bubbles so we can have high energy. And when we have high energy, that's going to allow us to kill things much faster. And when we kill things faster and do more damage, we get more ults. And then therefore we again kill more things. And then that means that we're going to be winning more fights and more games as a result. Very massive difference between having 0 energy and 100 energy. So with our bubbles, we want to make sure that we are looking for both quantity and quality, not just one or the other. Make sure we're not bubbling when there's nobody looking at us and we're around the corner where like no one could possibly see us. Like this bubble's gonna do nothing for us. So we want to make sure that when we are bubbling, it's when people are looking at us and shooting at us, particularly shooting at us, right? We want them to be looking in our direction so that they could have the possibility to shoot at us. And when they are going to be shooting at us or our teammates, right? So we want to watch for projectiles. It's super easy to jump in front of projectiles and get easy energy. Easy energy comes from ultimates as well. If you can just get an energy bubble off of one of those, just walk into the Tor Bolt or something like that, right? Then on top of that, make sure we're getting a little bit aggressive when we're going for our bubbles. Don't stand super far back or behind your Reinhardt, because then your bubble just does nothing. Instead, walk in front of your Reinhardt. For example here, like let's just say a Reinhardt's holding the corner. Make sure we're not just bubbling around the corner or bubbling behind a Ryan, but when we're bubbling, we're walking past the Reinhardt, past the corner. This draws their attention. It means that you're going to be tanking for your team. You're going to get max energy and also max tanking out of your bubble. And then on top of that, make sure that we, when we're bubbling a lot of the time, if we're focusing on just energy, right? Like with your bubbles, you kind of have a spectrum where you go from energy to tanking. Sometimes bubbles are going to be more tank based. Sometimes they're going to be more energy based, where you're just trying to get high energy. If you're just trying to get them get energy out of it, just like stand still and let them shoot you for free. Don't move around to make it hard for them. Now, if you're in danger of dying, or you don't want to stand still because you're going to get shredded like insanely fast, then don't stand still. But standing still can make it easier for them to hit you once in a while, so you might want to use it a couple times. If people aren't looking at you, you can draw their attention by shooting at them, right? So let's say we're just coming up to the high ground real quick, shoot down at them, stand still, get them to look at you, then we bubble, right, when they look at us. Make sure we're maintaining our energy in between fights, right? That we're using bubbles, in between fights, so we can maintain it, not just, have our energy deteriorate, right, and then not have any. Right, and then that is pretty much it. Right. Also look for bubbles, when people need them, right? When you're gonna get max value out of them, right? When people are low, getting ulted at, getting abilities tossed at them, right? We want to use our bubble. That way we get maxing tank value and also energy out of it, right?
Gotcha.
2 is going to be your ultimate usage, right? We want to make sure that we're getting good ults in, because you're going to be getting a whole lot more value out of better ultimates, right? We got like one person, we used 3 ultimates, I believe, and in 2 of them one of them we got a Reinhardt, one of them we got a Zarya, one of them we got half of an Orisa until she ran out of it. We want to make sure we're getting more people in them. Make sure don't toss it straight at them. They're going to body block from hitting the people around them. Instead, toss it in the floor between as many people as possible. Prioritize supports and DPS over tanks, because they're going to be a lot easier to kill and also higher value targets. Walk to the side or get above them to like kind of, get your grab in past shields and tanks, right? The way we would off angle, right, is an option when you go for your grab. then that is pretty much it, right? Just go for better grabs, right? Make sure we're intentionally trying to get more than one person in it. Number 3 is going to be our awareness. Make sure we're paying attention to our surroundings, and then we are therefore not making mistakes off of that. Pay attention to whether or not you've won or lost fights. It goes 1 to 2 is an advantage or a disadvantage. 2 or 3 is a won or lost fight. But make sure we're getting aggressive and passive accordingly. When you have lost a fight, make sure you, on Zarya, you're especially trying to get out, but if you don't think you can get out, let them kill you, right? Make sure that we are paying attention to, our teammates so that we can know when they need bubbles and who needs bubbles, like Symmetra, who we kind of ignored 2 times when we could have bubbled her and possibly saved their life, and pay attention to the enemy team and their health bars and where they're at so we can know, to continue shooting at people who are like 1 HP instead of swapping targets, right? And then there are probably a couple other things mixed in there, right? So awareness coming in at number 3. Number 4 is going to be your positioning. Just making sure that we're not standing super far back, that we're standing right next to our Reinhardt most of the time. Sometimes you can go on off angles as well in Zarya, since you're not the main tank, so keep that in mind. Just to confirm, we did talk about off angles last time, right? On Ashe?
Yes.
Yep. So Zarya can do that too, right? So just keep that in mind. You can do that just as much as you can on Ashe. If you're on Reinhardt, that'd be a little bit different. And then on top of that, just make sure we're not standing super far back up with our tank, and then also I feel like there's one other thing that I'm forgetting. Standing forwards and also using cover, right? Not standing out in the open, right? And then finally, mechanics, make sure we're left clicking and right clicking in the right distances, right? Right click is happening when you're too far away for your left click, and you can also right click when you're bursting someone down. You can right click melee when you're close, right click jump, right? Right click is the same, travels the same distance as your grab, and then besides that, just make sure we're shooting at supports and DPS instead of tanks, right? That's pretty much it. You have any questions about anything we've talked about?
2 questions. The first is, does Ryan's shield block my grab?
Yes, it does.
Okay, gotcha. All right,
All
and
shields do.
then I'll still do. Okay, and then second question: does my laser does it work the same as like my Ash my projectile? Does it matter if I hit them in the head versus the body?
No, you cannot do headshots on Zarya. So like
Ah,
you're gonna be doing the exact same damage whether you're aiming there or here.
okay. So
Um,
aim body,
yep.
or
So
aim
on
aim to the easiest, I guess. So body.
exactly. So on Zarya, it's gonna be slightly different. You're not walking around aiming here. Instead, you're gonna walk around aiming here because it's just kind of the center of mass. It's like the
Mm-hmm,
easiest part of them to hit and track.
mm-hmm.
So yes, you're correct. That's how it would be going, right?
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other
That was my
questions?
attack. No, you've given me a ton to think about and work on, so really appreciate it. This was
Yeah.
extremely useful.
No problem, man. Okay, I'm going to end the recording